Hi everyone, this is Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. We have here a patient who attended with, I would say, 3/4 occluding earwax and dead skin, so keratinous epithelial skin. And this is their left ear. And they have got a very narrow and bendy ear canal. You can see there's quite a few hairs there as well. The main symptom wasn't actually reduced hearing. We can just about visualize the center of the eardrum. We can see the light reflex, and also there's a little opening at the roof. The main symptom was really dry itchiness of the ear. And as we age, we have atrophy of the various glands in our ear. So there's two glands. The first one is the sebaceous glands, which secrete sebum, which is a viscous, oily, lipid, fatty secretion. And we find that all across our body, actually. The only parts we don't is, I believe, in the palm of our hands and the soles of our feet. And what sebum does, it's there to lubricate and moisturize the skin, so it's quite fatty and greasy. It's slightly acidic as well, so it helps to inhibit harmful bacterial and fungal growth. And then we've got modified sweat glands. So the normal glands, sweat glands we find in our body, which are involved in thermoregulations, the eccrine glands, they secrete a watery, salty based sweat. And these glands are found predominantly all around our body. And they are stimulated generally by heat. So if you're hot, to cool the body down, these eccrine glands produces oily, this water-based sweat, and it secretes it to the surface of the skin. And the way heat is then lost is excessive heat in the body is then excised from the body through the vaporization of these sweat droplets. So if these sweat droplets just fall off your brow, for example, then you're not really going to be losing heat. You want them to remain on the surface of the skin, and then the heat vaporizes it, and in that process your body loses heat, so it cools you down. But the apocrine glands are not heat induced, they are emotionally induced. So they're linked to adrenaline. So for example, during the fight and flight response, or sexual arousal even, adrenaline and other hormones in the body are produced. For example, the cortisol being one of these hormones, and the increase of adrenaline helps to increase your heart rate, your respiratory rate, so all your working muscles, which also become tensed, supplied with all the blood, nutrient, oxygen it needs to respond. And in that process, it also stimulates these apocrine glands. The ones found in the ear are a modified version. They're called ceruminous glands. And when you have increased adrenaline in the body, it also, as I said, contracts smooth muscle. And these ceruminous glands are lined with smooth muscle. We call it myoepithelial tissue. And it contracts. And when it contracts, it pushes this emotional sweat produced by the ceruminous glands in response to the fight or flight response, or sexual arousal as well, or just anxiety or stress. So the muscle squeezes it to the surface, and the secretion is a lipid sweat. It contains also, though, some proteins and peptides, which are short chains of amino acids that have got antimicrobial benefits, so it can help to fight off fungi and bacteria. They also there's debate whether they contain some various antibodies as well to again fight off harmful bacteria and fungi, and they contain lysosomal enzymes which try to enter the bacteria, so break through the bacteria cell membrane and then kind of kill the bacteria from the inside, or at least stop it from reproducing. So this sweat gland, the ceruminous glands, produces a less viscous sweat, so it's more of a watery, and it actually is colourless and it's got a cloudy appearance. But after a few days, it dries up in the ear and it turns more yellow and greeny, browny, and bacteria on the surface then degrade this oily sweat, and it releases odour molecules, and some of this odour can be quite pungent. And that's all to do with the single mutation of the ABCC11 gene, which determines whether you've got dry or wet earwax. If you've got a functional ABCC11 gene, it codes for a protein that transports certain molecules into the ceruminous glands. And these molecules then coagulate with other molecules, and they produce odorous lipids, so cholesterol, steroids, chains of fatty acids and alcohols. And they're either odorous immediately, or when they're forced to the surface of the skin. And when you've got the skin bacteria, so one form of bacteria that lives on the surface of the skin in the ear is a corneobacterium. So they start to degrade the oily sweat, and in doing so, it releases this odor. Now, 97% of the of Europe and African countries have this wet sweat. So, whereas in the Far East and Native Americans, you have a higher percentage that have the dry wax. So if you've got the dry wax, you have this non-functional ABCC11 gene. So it doesn't code for the protein that transports these additional molecules within the ceruminous glands. So why do we have this this mutation? So some believe because obviously this is also present under our armpits as well. Hence, if you've got wet earwax, then you are likely to have body odor when you sweat, so the emotional sweat. So it's argued that it might be a pheromone, so it helps to attract the opposite member of the sex. It may almost be a warning signal to other people, or to alert them that you're angry or you're stressed. But because it's having a non-functional ABCC11 gene, it means that you need a homozygous recessive allele. So basically, when you have a recessive mutation, if they're quite prominent in the population, then they must have some evolutionary advantage. So for the Far East population, having this recessive trait or phenotype of dry earwax, there must be some benefit. And so it's stipulated that in the Far East, body odor is really frowned upon, it's seen as unhygienic, and you're less likely to then find a mate and reproduce. So that non-functional mutation is still highly prevalent in the Far East. So if you ever get asked a question on that, on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, please do send half of your winnings to me. Going back to the original point, as we age, we get atrophy of these glands. So basically they get smaller, they're less functional, which makes the skin much drier because it's less lubricated, and then the skin, because it's dry, it's not able to migrate as well. So this skin that I'm peeling away, under normal circumstances, it probably would have desquamated, so it's shed off the canal surface, but it hasn't. So I've just gone in, peeled it all away. Patient could, if hearing was okay anyway, but they felt 100 times better. Take care, guys. Bye.